Hey there, my sweet little magnolias of YouTube. How are y'all doing? I am wanting to talk to y'all today about something that my spirit team was talking to me about on my trip back from my property in New Mexico to my house in Texas. And it's entitlement. And entitlement is kind of a bad word in today's society, It has a bad connotation, just put it that way. Very negative. But what my spirit team said to me was very interesting, and I've done a little bit of research on it. And there are two kinds of entitlement. There's the healthy kind, which is what we need, and there's the unhealthy kind, which is what most of the billionaire elite 1% class has. So let's break it down a little bit. What is healthy entitlement? Healthy entitlement is knowing that you are divine, knowing that you deserve to have a good life, knowing that you were put on this planet for a purpose and a reason, and the universe loves you and wants the best for you. Knowing that you, just by right of being, deserve a good life, an abundant life, a life full of joy, purpose, a life full of abundance and love. That's the healthy entitlement. The unhealthy entitlement is believing that the world owes you for no other reason than just because you think you deserve it. And you find unhealthy entitlement oftentimes in wealthy people, especially those who were born into wealth. And, I had to look at my own life because the people who adopted me and raised me were very wealthy. And so I never went without creature comforts. I did go without love. I did go without a happy home life. And I was traumatized greatly and abused egregiously. But I didn't do without the creature comforts. There was always a roof over our heads. There was always plenty to eat. There were vacations. There were toys. There were nice clothes, nice experiences. We had 2 summer homes and did a lot of traveling. And so in that way, I was raised in a wealthy home, but it was devoid of love. It was devoid of care. It was devoid of nurturing. So for a while, though, I was kind of a snob. I felt like by virtue of my raising that I deserved to be treated like a queen. What I didn't realize is I do deserve to be treated like a queen, but not because my parents had money, not because I have money, but because of who I am, because of the fact that I am divine, that Source lives within me, that the God particle is within me, just like it is within you. And that is the only thing that makes me worthy and entitled to a good life, right? So, while they were sharing this with me, actually, the first thing that Oscata, who is my gatekeeper spirit guide, said to me was, the only difference between you and the billionaire elite is that they know they deserve it and you don't think you do. And I went, mind blown. And that is true, right? When we're manifesting or attempting to manifest, The key is always that we get into alignment with it. That the thing that we want to manifest in our earth reality, that we line up with it, that we vibrate on the same level as the thing that we want, that we believe that we deserve it, and that we believe that we already have it, right? Those are pretty much the keys to manifesting, to the law of attraction. You attract what you're vibrating as. So if you're vibrating in a negative way, you're going to attract negativity. If you're vibrating in a positive way, you're going to attract positivity. It all sounds very simple. It's a little bit more convoluted, but the basic principle is very simple. So when they said what they said, the only difference between you and the billionaire elites is that they believe they deserve to be billionaires and to be elite, and you don't. That just really blew my mind. That really got me thinking. A lot of the poor, a lot of the middle class, the working poor, the working class, we believe at the core of our being that that's our lot in life. We believe that there's nothing better, that we don't deserve anything better. We believe that we were born to this lot and that's what we're going to get. And it's never going to change, right? So we need to shift our mindset. How do we do that, right? How do we do that? Well, to be honest, it's not very difficult, but it is extremely hard. And I know that doesn't make sense, but the principle is not difficult. It's you just start believing that you're worthy. But getting to that point is the hard part. So, as with everything else, it starts with healing. Because if you don't heal, then how are you going to understand your own value, your own worth? How are you going to come to believe that you deserve a good life if you haven't healed? I don't know about y'all, but my abuse included a lot of verbal, mental, emotional abuse. You're no good. You're never going to amount to anything. You're stupid. You're whatever. I remember my father said to me one time, "You know, you're a really good singer. Too bad you're never going to make it in the music business because of your weight. If you'd lose 100 pounds, you'd probably get a record deal." Huh? That was his idea of a compliment. And if I would have lost 100 pounds at that point, I would have weighed 60 pounds. Just saying. I wasn't that big. I was 160 pounds when he said that to me. And that just haunted me for years. That even though I was an excellent vocalist, I was too fat, so I wasn't worthy of success. That haunted me for years. Contributed greatly to my food problems, bulimia, and that kind of shit. So we have to heal from that. Plain and simple. That is the first step. So we're talking about entitlement, the positive entitlement and the negative entitlement. And we know that we've established in order to have the positive kind of entitlement, knowing what you're worth, you need to heal first. And, it's not just the billionaire elite class that has the negative entitlement. It's a lot of poor folks too. And that comes down to unhealed trauma. Have you ever met a person who the whole world would call lazy, that thinks this person thinks the world owes them a living? They think they're entitled to be cared for by their mommy and daddy, or by the government, or their girlfriend, or their boyfriend, or their whomever, because they've had such a hard life. So the whole world owes them. That kind of entitlement is extremely toxic and extremely negative as well. So, healing is the base, the foundation of knowing your worth, knowing your value, knowing that you deserve a good life, knowing you are entitled to an abundant life full of joy, full of peace, full of happiness and kindness and love. Healing is the first step, because if you don't heal, you could get in the trap of negative entitlement, or you could get in the trap of not feeling entitled at all. You need to look at your life and see where you are. For me, when I was younger, it was the negative entitlement because, of the wealth of my adoptive family. And then it became I don't deserve it because I'm not worthy. I'm a piece of shit. I'm never going to amount to anything. My whole life is going to be a struggle, and then I'm going to die. None of those scenarios are good, right? Now, I've done most of my shadow work. I still have stuff to do because healing is a lifelong process, in my opinion. I've done a lot of shadow work. I've done a lot of healing. I have let go of a lot of things, forgiven a lot of people, moved on. And I have come to a place where I know that I deserve to have a good life. I am entitled to a good life for no other reason than that I exist. Can you wrap your head around that? Positive entitlement says, I deserve it. Negative entitlement says, you owe me. Do you see the difference? So, learning through healing, learning your value, learning your worth is so important to a successful life. It's getting a little chilly, so I'm going to put my jaqueta on. Learning that you don't have to do anything to deserve love. You don't have to do anything to deserve happiness. You don't have to do anything to deserve being treated with respect. You don't have to do anything to deserve having a good life. When you figured that out, y'all, you're winning. You're winning. The only thing you really have to do is heal. And that's just plain old beneficial all the way around. You're not doing it to become worthy. You're doing it to discover your worthiness. You're already worthy, my sweet little magnolias. You just have to discover it. So once you heal the parts of you that tell you you're not worthy. You move from an unhealthy, negative life experience into a positive life experience that's very healthy. And you start to understand your value, and you start to grasp the worth that you have. It's a basic lesson that doesn't come easy. I know there's some kind of a study out there that said it takes X number of positive comments to overcome one negative comment. Like 1,000. I don't know why our brains are programmed that way, that we give more weight to negative comments. We give more weight to negative criticism than we do to encouragement. I don't get that. I'm sure somebody out there could tell me. But we do. And so if you are constantly negatively speaking to yourself, or constantly listening to the negative words playing on those tapes round and round in your head that people in your life have said to you in the past, you cannot overcome that. You have to stop talking negative to yourself. You have to stop listening to the old tapes. You have to heal and start replacing the negativity with positivity. If your father's voice in your head says you're never going to amount to anything, then you need to say, no, that's not true. You're lying. I was born to be successful, and I am successful. You need to keep doing that until it sticks. You need to keep going, keep pursuing that healing. Know your worth. And then you can work on getting in alignment with what you're entitled to. You're entitled to a good life, an abundant, happy life, a healthy life, financially stable life, a life full of love, a life full of peace, a life full of respect and success. Yes, my sweet little magnolias, you are. You're worthy of that. You are entitled to that. Can you imagine how great the world would be if a bunch of spiritual people who are givers, who are compassionate, who are lovers of their fellow man, were the billionaire elite class? I don't know about y'all, but I'd be taking care of everybody. I'd be stocking every food pantry I came across. I'd be housing homeless people and making sure children are clothed and sheltered and fed. I'd be paying doctor bills for people who need health care. Just saying. We need the money to be in the hands of the good people. And the only way to make sure that the good people, the spiritual people, the givers, the compassionate people are the ones with the money is for people like you and people like me to heal, to grasp our worth, to recognize that we are entitled to this money, and to get in alignment with that vibrationally so that it can come to us. The world will be a much better place when you are healed, and I am healed, and we're all healed and living our best lives, helping others to heal, helping others to move up, helping others to understand their worth. Taking care of people financially because we're the ones that are the billionaire elites. Yeah. What a world. What a wonderful world that would be. So, bottom line to this teaching: heal thyself, my sweet little magnolias. Learn and discover and embrace your worth. Recognize that you, just by the fact that you exist on this planet, you are entitled to a good life. Let me know what y'all think about that. I'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts. Love y'all. See you next time.